Under the Contract Act 1950, free consent is vital for a valid contract, as stated in Section 10 and 14 of Contract Act 1950. So fraud, defined under Section 70, can invalidate consent. It includes false facts, active concealment, empty promises and deceptive acts. So cases like BP Sabah against Syarikat Jubrin, it shows how fraudulent misrepresentation disrupts contract. Malaysian law, it takes a broader view of fraud compared to common law, covering intentional dishonesty that mislead others into agreements. Remember, consent isn't free if fraud is involved. So fraud has a major impact on contract. For example, like under Section 19 of Contract Acts, a contract caused by fraud is voidable. The affected party can either rescind it or enforce its performance. So remedies like rescission contract are outlined in Section 34 Sub 1 of Specific Relief Acts 1950. However, Section 17E broadens the definition of fraud to include dishonest acts under others law like criminal or corporate regulation. So Malaysian contract law, it protects fairness and accountability in contract, ensuring free consent isn't compromised. So one of the common form of fraud in Malaysian contract law is false representation or misrepresentation. It occurs when one party makes a false statement of fact to induce another into a contract. So this undermines free consent and renders the contract voidable. Abdul Malik Ishaq, Justice in Riverside against Atlas Court, defined it as a false statement relied upon during contracting. Misrepresentation can lead to serious legal consequences. So to establish misrepresentation, 5 elements must be proven. First, the statement must be untrue. Second, it must be factual. And third, it must be directed at the party who relied on it. And fourth, it must induce the party to enter into the contract. And lastly, the received party must show reasonable diligence in verifying its truth. One of the types of misrepresentation is fraudulent misrepresentation, which is under Section 17 on Contract Acts. Involves knowingly false statement made to deceive another party into a contract. To prove this, 5 criteria must be met. First, a false representation made dishonestly. Second, awareness that the statement is false. And third, intent to deceive and induce reliance. And fourth, actual inducement influencing contract decision. And lastly, resulting damage due to reliance on the false statement. However, silence does not qualify as fraudulent misrepresentation unless there's a legal duty to disclose, as highlighted in a case like Derry against Pick, 1889. So under Section 19 of the Acts, contract induced by fraudulent misrepresentation are voidable at the deceived party option. Remedies ensuring justice, requiring reimbursement or compensation for benefit gain are provided in Section 65 and 66 of Contract Act. So to rescind a contract, the aggrieved party must notify the other party and restore any benefits received, restoring balance and preventing exploitation, and giving justice to those who have been affected by the fraudulent misrepresentation. Thank you.
So in common law, forgery is one of the often recent cases that occurs in Malaysia, and occurs when someone is trying to make a legal document or making an alteration of legal document with an intention to defraud, and this forgery act actually can be classified under Section 17 of the Contract Act 1950. So according to the Black Letter Law that defines basic principles of law, it defines forgery is making a false document for the purpose to deceive someone. So of course, in today's world, there are various types or various ways to commit a forgery, such as in the educational purposes, in the insurance, banking and finance, as well as the works of art. So actually, this forgery can be emphasized more in the Act 574 of the Malaysian Penal Code, and from under the Section 463 to Section 477. So as for now, there is no specific researches regarding the forgery that basically occurs in Malaysia, but what can I say that forgery can be classified into two categories, which are the material forgery and also the non-material forgery. And the act of document forgery also can be influenced by various ways, such as the financial gain, identity theft, fraudulent contract, and also for the criminal activities in which someone trying to get extra money via in appropriate ways. So of course all these activities can cause someone to making into troubles, and of course we need to examine more about these cases, because forgery cases basically involve the official government documents and have raised the big concerns of these acts, as it could pose a threat to the national security.
Hi everyone, my name is Mona Shafika binti Faizal, A212853. I'm going to continue my group's presentation. What is bribery? So bribery is actually refers to any act of offering, giving, soliciting something valuable with intention to influence someone in position or in authority. Generally, bribery involves transaction between two or more parties which will grant something in their favor. So Judge Gordon Smith, in his judgment, stated that bribery is like a cancer that may grow and destroy the whole body, which is the whole system. It's a very unethical behavior and it shouldn't be practiced in our society. In Malaysia, the primary body that governs anti-corruption is called the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, referred to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2009. So this is actually the reform for the Anti-Corruption Act 1997 that has been repealed. This act designed to raise the integrity and accountability of especially of the public sectors and also the private sectors as well. So let's see the legal provision of bribery in the MACC Act 2009. So the first one, we have section 16, an act of accepting gratification by any person who corruptly solicits or agrees to receive for himself or any other person and corruptly gives promises and offers to any person, whether for the benefit of that person or the other person. So next we have section 17, section 18, section 20. So this section has detailed what kind of act that includes in the bribery. Next, what are the causes of bribery? One of the main factors that contribute to a bribery or corruption is because of the low income. Some countries, low wages and public sector are also believed to contribute into corruption. The second one is lack of enforcement and check and balance, especially in most complex transactions. Businesses also led to the corruptions since it was almost unnoticed. Finally, cultural norms also can be a cause of bribery in society. Last but not least, after hearing the causes of bribery, we will go to the effect or the penalties of bribery. Every crime is bound with consequences and penalties. So in MACC Act 2009, Section 24, Clause 1, where imprisonment for a term for not exceeding 20 years, be a fine of not less than 5 times the sum of value of the gratification, which is the subject matter of the offence. It was estimated that Malaysia loses approximately $6 to $7 billion annually due to corruption. So this has effect our economic growth and development. Economic in Malaysia has created serious economic and social challenges, leading to increased costs and reduced public trust. Addressing this challenge requires continuous effort from every level of society, especially those in authority, to do it for the greater nation.
Hi everyone, my name is Luqman and today I'm going to discuss the case of Maisi Long and Anor against Rahimah binti Muhammad Noor and others. This case revolved around a fraudulent land transaction. Maisi Long and a co-owner were the rightful owners of a property in Kuala Lumpur. They had given a power of attorney to the defendants to handle the land, but it was misused without their knowledge to transfer ownership to other parties. The plaintiff argued that the sale was fraudulent and are seeking to void the transaction and restore their ownership. The main legal issue in this case is whether the transfer of the plaintiff's land was fraudulent. If fraud is proven, the next question is whether the 6 and 7 defendants who now own the land had their title invalidated. Section 340 subsection 2 of the National Land Code NLC allows land titles to be challenged if obtained through fraud or misrepresentation. However, Section 340 subsection 3 protects those who purchase the property in good faith, meaning if the 6 and 7 defendants were innocent purchasers, their title could still be valid. The High Court initially found that fraud had been committed by the 1st to 5th defendants, invalidating the sale and restoring the plaintiff as the rightful owners. However, the Court of Appeal overturned this, ruling that the 6 and 7 defendants were innocent purchasers. Finally, the Federal Court reinstated the High Court's decision, stating that the defendant had constructive notice of the fraud. As a result, the plaintiff ownership was restored and the land registry was ordered to be corrected. The court ruled that under Section 340 subsection 2 of the National Land Code, fraud invalidates a property transfer even if committed by a third party. The defendants misused the power of attorney, making the sale unlawful. The 6 and 7 defendants could not claim protection as innocent buyers because they failed to investigate suspicious circumstances. As a result, the fraudulent transfer was void and the plaintiff ownership was rightfully restored.
My name is Nurul Aini Natali. My case number is 29771. I'm going to talk about a case involving fraud in the case of Low Income and others specifically Fox Contract 2020. So the facts of the case is Oyaxis completed its contract but design selection failed to pay Bioxis an amount of 1,477,972.89 ringgit for their work. In order to settle the debt, Bioxis, Jana Vista and Design Selection entered into a settlement agreement called SA, which Jana Vista agreed to transfer Bioxis or its nominee a piece of land with 2.5-story bungalow, free of encumbrances. At the time, Jana Vista was the only beneficial owner of the land, which was a part of a larger master title owned by PKNS. The parties to the SA agreed that the land would be transferred to Yo as Bioxis nominee. Yo was the director and shareholder of Bioxis at the time. Concurrent with the SA, Jana Vista signed an agreement to sell the land to Yo for 879,335 ringgit, while Design Selection signed another agreement with Yo to construct a 1,08,565 ringgit bungalow on the land. Vacant possession of the land and the completed bungalow was to be delivered to Yo within 36 months. Yo obtained banking facilities from the third appellant, PBB, to redeem the land from Jana Vista's financier by paying 566,370 ringgit, and that once it obtained the separate title for the land, it would be handed over to PBB. However, Jana Vista sold the land to its related company, Elite Prop Sendirian Berhad, for a mere 314,844 ringgit and authorized PKNS to transfer the land directly to Elite Prop. When Yo knew about the transfer, Yo and Bioxis sued Jana Vista, Design Selection and Elite Prop for declarations asserting their legal right over the land and to set aside the transfer to Elite Prop. PBB later joined the suit as a co-plaintiff, and before the trial, Jana Vista and Design Selection wound up and did not join the trial, which only proceeded between the appellants and Elite Prop. In the suit, the appellants alleged Elite Prop's title is defeasible on the ground of fraud. High Court's decision. The High Court agreed to set aside the transfer of the land to Elite Prop and declared Yo as the lawful owner of the land. The High Court also declared that Jana Vista's agreement to sell the land to Elite Prop was invalid and ordered that land register to be rectified so that Yo was registered as the owner of the land. The court also ordered the sum of 314,844 to be repaid to Elite Prop. Moving on to the ratio decidendi of the High Court's decision, the court found from the evidence that Elite Prop was not a bona fide purchaser and that Jana Vista and Elite Prop had, with full planning, committed fraud on the appellants to deprive them of the land. The order to rectify be given to the Land Office pursuant to Section 417 of the National Land Code, that the third defendant be removed from the title of the land and the first plaintiff be registered as the registered proprietor on the title of the land, and the third plaintiff be registered as the charger on the title of the land. However, the Court of Appeal set aside the High Court's decision, and without all addressing the question of fraud as found by the High Court, the Court of Appeal decided in favour of Elite Prop, using the issue of beneficial interest to reject Yo's and Bioxis claims. Ratio decidendi of the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal ruled that only a registered proprietor could create a beneficial estate out of his title and validly pass a beneficial interest. Since the title of the land and the material done was in PKNS name, Jana Vista only had beneficial interest on the land and Elite Prop therefore acquired a good title. Finally, the Federal Court's decision. The Federal Court granted the appellants leave to appeal against the Court of Appeal's decision. The Federal Court held unanimously allowing the appeal and to set aside the decision of the Court of Appeal and retaining the decision of the High Court except the order that Yo has to pay 314,000 ringgit 844 to Elite Prop.
So in conclusion, fraud in Malaysian contractual matters, it undermines the principle of free consent, which is a cornerstone of Malaysian contract law under Contract Acts. So fraudulent practices such as false representation, forgery, bribery, it renders contract voidable and it complicates the enforcement of rights for such cases. So the Contract Acts, the penal codes and the judicial ruling like Macy Longs against Rahimah and Yeo Ping Teng against Elite Prop offers a framework to address fraud in Malaysian matters. So furtherly, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2009 also tackles the bribery, emphasizing the government's commitment to integrity in contractual dealings. So evolving challenges necessitate a stronger enforcement and public awareness as essential steps to uphold the fairness and justice in Malaysian contractual matters. Thank you.